Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great. Today we're going to finish with unit number 4. Remember that this unit is called Encounters, and in this opportunity we're going to be doing a listening activity in which people are telling stories about memorable meetings. So we're going to be describing past events and telling travel anecdotes, all right? So we have here two images of two different stories that we're going to listen today. First, we have Osman and Bernd, right over here, and then we have Annie and Lucas. So the people in the picture have just met each other. So where are they, and do you think they're having a good time together or not? So let's have a look first at this image. So where are they? They are inside a plane, right? So they are flying somewhere. We don't know. Do you think they're having a great time or not? Well, from their facial expressions, we're not very sure, right? He looks a bit annoyed, maybe. Like he's not very comfortable. Well, let's move on. Then we have Annie and Lucas. Where are they? It looks like they are at a restaurant or at a cafe, I'm sorry. They are outside. It seems like a sunny day, right? And do you think they're having a great time? Well, they are eating, so maybe. We're going to find out now. Now we're going to listen to both of their stories, right? First, we're going to listen to Osman. He's Osman, remember? And then we're going to listen to Annie. So what I want you to do is that here we have two pairs of sentences, right? And I want you to identify which sentence is about Osman and Bernd and which one is about Annie and Lucas. All right? So let's listen.
Track 36.
Osman.
Well, I was traveling to the USA on business, and I got a plane from Germany, from Frankfurt. Anyway, I was just reading the airline magazine and relaxing when suddenly some late passengers arrived. A few of them came into business class where I was sitting. One of them was this really big guy with a huge beard and sunglasses. He was wearing a black biker jacket, black leather trousers, and he had a lot of tattoos. He looked kind of scary, actually. Anyway, he sat down next to me, and before I could pretend to fall asleep, he introduced himself, and we had a good chat. He was a nice guy, interesting. His name was Bernd, I think, but it was a long time ago. Then recently, I was in Germany again, and I turned on the television, and there he was on a news program. He's a top manager for the Harley-Davidson clothing company in Germany, and he was speaking at some big conference. And he was still wearing his biker clothes, so I recognized him immediately.
Annie.
I went to Montpellier 1 or 2 years ago. I was looking for a little restaurant to eat on my own. It was in February, but in Montpellier it was really nice weather, so you could eat outside. So I sat at a table for 2. At one point a man arrived and there was only one table for 5 available, so he asked me if he could sit at my table, and we started having a chat. He was a really nice person. He was from Switzerland and he was studying French in Montpellier, so I started teaching him a bit. We met several times when I was there, and next to Montpellier there is a nice town next to the sea, and so we had a day trip there, and that's it really. We became pen friends, but of course I have my boyfriend at home, so that's it.
Okay, so remember that if you need to listen again, you can pause the video and go back as you wish, all right? So, they met in Germany. Are we talking about Osman and Bernd or Annie and Lucas? Osman and Bernd. We're going to write an O over there. So, who met in France? Annie and Lucas, right? Then we have, they were going to the US on business. again, Osman and Bernd, and then they had French lessons together. That's for Annie and Lucas, right? Because Annie taught Lucas some French. They met 1 or 2 years ago. That's for Annie and Lucas, right? And a long time ago for Osman and Bernd. They met a few times after the first time they met, of course. Annie and Lucas, right? They became friends. They only met once. That's for Osman, right? That was the only opportunity they were together at that plane. They are not in contact now, Osman and Bernd, and then they are pen friends, which means that they write each other, maybe emails, right? That's for Annie and Lucas, but she says that she has a boyfriend, so they're just friends, okay, in case you were curious about that. Very good. Now let's have a look at some expressions that we use to start a story. Remember, I left you some pages and some links on the Aula Virtual for you to check how to write good stories. And something key when we write good stories is to give enough context at the beginning, right? So we can catch the attention of our listeners or readers in case we're writing, right? So here we have some vocabulary that we can use to set the scene, to give context to our story, right? So what I want you to do is to match the numbers here with the expressions that we have here to complete the sentences. So pause the video now and do that because I'm going to give you the answers in a moment. So are you ready? Let's see. We have the first one says, I was in France. Of course, you can also say I was in Frankfurt. Both are okay, right? I was living, in this case, in Frankfurt, right? I was looking for a little restaurant. Looking for, pay attention to the prepositions we use here. Those are the keys, right? I was on my way to a conference and I was visiting my brother. Very good. I was with 2 friends. It was summer. I was working in a shop. I was traveling to the USA and I was waiting for a train. Very good. So these are the things you want to say when you want to set the scene. You want to say when something happened, where were you, and what were you doing? So what were you doing? I was looking for a little restaurant, or I was working in a shop, I was traveling, right? You set the scene, right? Now, look at the sentences again from 1 to 10 and try to think of more ways that you can use to complete each sentence. So, for example, you can say, I was in another place, right? Or you can also talk about your feelings, like, I was sad, I was happy, excited, nervous, I was living in my old house, or I was living in another country. I was looking for someone. I was looking for my brother at school, maybe. I was on my way to work or to university or to the cinema. I was visiting some friends. I was visiting a museum, maybe, or a specific place, right? It was summer. It was 10 years ago. You can also use that to talk about time. I was working with, maybe, with a friend, or I was working in a school or in a restaurant. I was traveling to my parents' house. I was waiting for my sister. Those are other words that you can use. Now, Last activity, and this is going to be a homework, so I'm going to leave you the homework on the Aula Virtual so you can post and submit your answers, right? It says, think of a time in your life when you met someone interesting. Think about these questions. Where were you? When was it? What were you doing? What was the person like? That you can describe it. Maybe what he or she was wearing, right? Or what they look like. Like, do they look like Osman was a bit scared of Bent? So maybe did you feel that way? What did you talk about? Did you spend much time together, and are you in contact now? So I'm going to leave you this homework so you can post it and I can give you some feedback. Remember that for stories like this one, we use past simple and past continuous or past progressive, right? To give emphasis on some actions. So if you don't have a memorable meeting, maybe you can invent. That would be great as well. So that's all for today. This is a very short lesson. This was a very short lesson. So if you have questions about the content, please write me back, right? So I can help you. And don't forget to do the exercises from the Aula Virtual so you can practice before our upcoming tests. All right? So take care and I will see you very, very soon. Bye bye.